Hello everyone and welcome to the Go Setups VIP trophy hosted right here on pitskill.io. I'm your host Roy Waller and tonight we're bringing you round 8 of the championship here at Donington Park as we are watching our championship leader, and I think, if my maths is correct, already crowned championship winner Manuel Benz will take us on the first flying lap of this Donington Park circuit. And we'll see if anything can shake the dominable spirit of Manuel Benz. As using all of the track up through the top of the hill, and ever so tricky chicane, and well, no surprises there. Manuel Benz taking it at full commitment first time through, and we are just a couple of corners away from seeing our first representative lap time of the session. Well, actually, we would be if Manuel Benz had not invalidated this one as he goes to the limits of the track to line up for his first flying lap of the session. First across the line will be Cam Carter with a 1:27.7, just barely beaten by Busso behind. As the times are beginning to tumble in, Sam McCarthy putting his Porker in P3, and Chris Wright slotting in to P4 in the Ferrari. Steve Goosens descends through the crane of curves, has put his McLaren into P5 for the moment, as Tadeusz Szynski putting it up into provisional pole position in this early stages in this qualifying session, a 1:27.2. Very closely matched there by Terje Fredriksson, who cuts the beam for a 1:27.267. That's 600ths of a second off of Tadeusz. We see a few drivers come to the end of their laps, and I think we're going to see a competitive lap here from Manuel Benz as he approaches the final corner of the circuit. Kept this one within the track limits as he cuts the beam for a 1:26.2, almost a second better than our previous best, and now half a second clear of new P2 man Roland Schrecker, showing that he's got the pace as he always does in these qualifying sessions. As we've just got a few more drivers left to complete the first of their flying laps, as Christopher Elberg goes P16 in the Lightning Bottle Racing McLaren, followed by Kotick, who crosses the line to go up to P16. Lots of drivers completing their first laps to get a time on the board, as Kenny Crows comes up to the final corner of the circuit. Crosses the line for a 1:28.155, enough to put him in P13 for now. As we just have Pirello, Jay and Tranmere waiting to set a lap in this qualifying session. I think Tranmere sitting in the pit lanes may have a penalty. Oh, I am scared of the offer of livery updates, but you're welcome to try your hand at it and show me get your creative juices flowing and see what you're made of. There's Nitro. Is finding some pace up there, currently sitting down in P21. Did quite well in the Porsche Cup race on Monday. And going strong here. We've got quite a few drivers improving down on the lower portion of the standings at the moment. And Busso rounding the second to last hairpin of the circuit. As Busso's bulldozing crosses the line to improve up to P8 with a 127.1, some second slower than the time set by Manuel Benz, who currently sitting in the pit lane. I'm sure we'll see him come out again during this session, but just getting a change of tyres, I suspect, as we get a first lap time from Michael J, a 1:29.6, and he will head off again to try and improve on that. There's our man in the BMW, Roland Schricker, attempts to find a bit more pace on this Donington circuit. And Schricker doing well on this lap, steadily bringing in the pace, just the two final hairpins to go. Corners so easy to drop time. It's a deceptively technical piece of track where you have to pick up a late apex to really optimize those runs. The straights between the hairpins longer than you might otherwise expect, as Roland Schricker crosses the line. And getting ever so closer to that time of Manuel Benz. Could we have a challenge on our hands? As Christopher Elberg rounds the final corner, has got plenty of pace in hand on this lap, just needs to optimize that exit. Putting two wheels out onto the dirt will not do so, but does find a heap of time to move up to P21 with a 1:28.4. And with just over 10 minutes remaining of this session, plenty of time for these drivers, I should say, to find some more pace. As Kenny Crows in the DM Motorsport Porsche 992. These Porsche naming conventions, I never get used to them. I think I do need to update the liveries, as yep, we see Kenny Crows also missing a livery. And we'll try and get that sorted before the race session. One driver who does have their livery though, as you can tell by that very fetching rear spoiler that Thomas Pirello does always like to run in the rainbow colours. Currently running in P9 and looking to get a little bit more lap time out of this one as he crosses the line. Gains in time but not in position. Busso still 1.5 tenths ahead on the road. As Herge Fredriksson rounding The final 2 hairpins. We're going to be saying that a lot here, as these hairpins are where drivers can find the most time. Oh, not by doing that though, you can't. No. Do need to stay on the track to find the time, unfortunately, for Terz Fredriksson. Going a little bit too deep on the brakes there, as we check in with another Lamborghini with a rainbow rear end. There's Jeremy Thomas. Comes over the top of the hill and descending towards the chicane. A couple of corners that really test the driver's bravery and skill, and unfortunately Jeremy Thomas having his skill tested a little too much there, as he does get a track cut for his off track, as Thomas Perello moves up to P4 with that lap time, and Terz Fredriksson will be looking to not repeat the mistake of the last lap as he heads through the chicane. Well, he didn't repeat the mistake of his last lap, although he did go out on the grass again, but he did repeat the mistake that we saw from Jeremy Thomas. So again, we'll have to settle back in and try and set another valid lap. Jeremy Thomas has obviously found his pace around this circuit, now just needs to keep it within the track limits. Got plenty of time to do so, but laps are running out, and if he wants to get a decent lap on the board at least to start chipping away at, needs to bring home a valid lap soon. Currently sitting on a 1:27.9, some 1.8 seconds off of our pole sitter, but on this lap is going super quick, and I am wondering if there is a potential problem with my timing app. I think there might be, because it was suggesting he was 2 seconds up on his previous best, which would put him with a chance of challenging. No, did not challenge Manuel Benz that time around, so my app is screwed. As Jeremy Thomas finds 0.2 of a second, not 2 seconds, and goes up to P15. As Terz Fredriksson crosses the beam to improve to P7, 1:26.7. I'm starting to see those times take a tumble as drivers finding their feet. There's a good run through the chicane that time around for Chris Wright. Just needs to hook up these final 2 corners and could be on for a decent improvement here. Just 1 corner to go. All important one to make it count. Got to get that good exit out onto that exit curb, and the run down to the line improves to P10 there for Chris Wright. A whole heap of time found, and he'll be happy with that. As Manuel Benz continues to go fast out there. Currently sitting pretty at the top with a 1:26.115, looking to go even faster as he flies through the chicane. Joy to watch this driver make the most of this Donington Park circuit. He rounds the final corner, finding a heap of time in those final 2 corners, improves. First driver into the 125s just about with a 1:25.990. And, well, I think he might be all on his lonesome in the 1:25s, as that was a very impressive lap there from Manuel Benz. As the drivers starting now to have reached what would be their usual limits and now having to push to find the time. Point in the session where we might be seeing a few mistakes creeping out as they try and eke out those final couple of tenths. As Michelak crosses the line and is only 0.05 of a second behind Steve Goosens, but unable to find that time. There's Sam McCarthy. Just one corner to go. Is up on his previous best. Currently sitting in P14. Needs to find at least a tenth of a second to jump ahead of Florent de Moor. Finds a little bit more than that and jumps ahead of Felix Kotick as well for his troubles. A driver who is looking to find a little bit more time, and if he does so, is in an incredibly competitive part of the grid with just over 3/100ths of a second separating P4 down to P8. Any one of these drivers just needs to find a little bit of pace to see themselves jumping up a good number of positions. And at the moment though, none of them in this group looking like they're improving so far. There's one driver who is improving, is Tadeusz Stasinski, currently 0.6 of a second off of our pole sitter, but only some 0.4 behind Roland Schricker. As he cuts over the grass, is not going to improve on this lap, I don't think, unless he's able to find a lot in the chicane. What he does find is almost a track cut there. Did look like he maybe went out of track limits, but no, just about staying within them and finding a little bit of pace here on this lap. Not sure it's going to be enough to challenge Schricker ahead, but Cam Carter has made the jump up into P4, getting ahead of Thomas Pirello. And it's Antrax now who bring it around the second sector of the circuit, climbing the hill, is up on their previous best at the moment. And as Antrax brings it towards the chicane, needs to find the pace here, but also needs to keep it within the track limits. Chucks it through the chicane and still valid for now. But perhaps a little overcautious as he is losing a touch of speed as we head through the final two corners. And as time has run out on this session, this will be the final lap for all of these drivers currently out on circuit. Antrax carries the speed. Will it be enough to gain him some time as he crosses the line and does not improve? He stays in P8. Sam McCarthy looking for an improvement. He comes to cross the line and not quite enough out of the final corner. And I think that is it, everyone, for our qualifying session. And congratulations again to Manuel Benz, who earns himself another pole position in the Go Setups VIP trophy. With Thomas Pirello crossing the line. The final driver to complete their lap will be Grzegorz Michelak. And perhaps throwing a little bit too much pace into that final corner. as he crosses the line and stays P17. Well, there's qualifying over, and as we wait for our drivers to line up on the grid for tonight's race, I will just quickly make sure I have all of the correct liveries so we don't miss out on the drivers' hard work making their cars look good for this season. Yep, we've had Tiny Roy. We now have Huge Roy, the new addition to the broadcast. As I try and multitask my way into getting those liveries, I'm forgetting completely how the Pit Skill website works. So, for recap for this race, we have got on pole position, as always, Manuel Benz, followed by Roland Schricker, Tobias Szynski, Cam Carter, Thomas Pirello, Terj Fredriksson, Balazs Fahit, Manuel Antrax, Jeremy Thomas, Busso, Rainer Scholl, E12 is Chris Wright, Sam McCarthy, Felix Kotick, Laurent Demore, Matthias Peltzer, Grzegorz Michalak, Paul Cook, Christopher Elberg. P20 is Steve Goosens, followed by Kenny Crows, Matthew Santons, Christian Romby, Karol Petrowski, Michael J, Nitro, and finally in P27 will be Luke Tranmer. As we are not far away from the race start tonight, and we'll get to see if Roland Schricker can try anything into turn one here at Donington Park. As our drivers line up on the grid. As a plane goes overhead, casting a shadow over the track. That was quite confusing. And so, reminder again, as our grid will stand for tonight's race. We've got a reasonably hot track as Manuel Benz pulls away to start this formation lap. 26 degrees ambient, 32 degree track temperature. It's going to be a tough one on the tyres. But as a reminder, with our race format, we do have a single mandatory pit stop with a requirement for the drivers to change tyres and no refueling, as the camera pans over absolutely nothing. And we can remind ourselves of the championship standings, with Manuel Benz leading the way on 726 points, and with 2 drop rounds for every driver in this championship. I do believe that this does make Manuel Benz untouchable at this point. And in P2 we have a closer battle, as Cam Carter and Tobias Szynski separated by just 13 points. And behind them, the battle for P5 is hotly contested and really could go to anyone all the way down to Terj Fredriksson, so that is the one to look out for in these remaining 3 races of the season. Even the battle for P13, again hotly contested, And those drivers will want to be gaining those points wherever they can to try and get the best possible finish for this Season 19 of the Go Setups VIP Trophy. As Manuel Benz brings us through the chicane at the end of the circuit, and just a couple of corners to go. We'll be ready to start another round of this. Remind you, the Go Setups VIP Trophy. If you are in need of any sim racing setups, do go and head on over to Go Setups, and if you can, even better, use the affiliate link on the pitskill.io website, and you'll be helping to support a great sim racing community. As we round the final corner and line up side by side, will Roland Schricker be thinking about trying to take the lead into this race, or just be thinking about his championship? Moments away from finding out. As the green flag waves in the background, it's a good start from Schricker. We go towards the first corner, and Schricker with the nose ahead is going to try and throw it around the outside here. And it is a bold start to this race. Roland Schricker looking like he's got the run on Manuel Benz for now, but Benz will have the inside line as they come to the bottom of the crane of curves. And Schricker elbows out at this point in the race, but could not stand up to Manuel Benz, who holds on to P1. But it's now Tadeusz Szynski who's got the opportunity. He can keep his car alongside, will have the inside line as they crest over the hill. And Manuel Benz, he was challenged by two cars there at the start of this race, but seeing them both off for now. And as he finds his feet and starts to pull away that gap already appearing at the front of the field. As we can see in the background, Sam McCarthy making his way up past Antrax as they head into the chicane. Antrax slotting in behind. As Terz Fredriksson has lost out on a number of positions. Now looks like he's going to lose out to Jeremy Thomas, but muscling his way through side by side. And they've got Rainer Shaw up behind them for company as Jeremy Thomas tries to find a way to line up a move through the final corner. As they complete the first lap. It's good to see the majority of our drivers still close together as we got movement in the back of the field. As Romby and Tranmer have got past Goossens and Kotick as Fredriksson puts himself out onto the dirt. This could give Jeremy Thomas a run down as they head through the crane of curves. As there's Busso kicking up some dirt up ahead of these drivers. And up at the head of the field, Manuel Benz already pulling out a 0.7 second gap, but Tadeusz Szynski doing well to keep with him at this early stage in the race. And it is Thomas Perello who is leading the train for P5 at the moment, with Balazs here just dropping back ever so slightly. And well, for once Balazs here running same livery for two races in a row. Not sure if that is just artistic laziness there from the Audi driver. As Roland Schricker makes his way past Cam Carter. Round the outside. Holds on. Will have the inside line into the final corner. And getting the power on, actually had the move made even before they got to the final corner. So that was good work there from Roland Schricker. After losing out early on in the race, has moved himself back up to the bottom step of the podium and can start concentrating on moving forward and heading on after Tadeusz Szynski to P2. As this battle for P5 continues behind, you can see as they all head up the hill, snaking their way through. We've got battles throughout the field at the moment, not getting much in the way of field spread. As this train led by Thomas Perello is followed not far behind by a train headed up by Rainer Schull, who's actually now caught up to the rear of Jeremy Thomas, making this a considerably longer train all the way from P5 down to P13. And strong battling here at Donington Park, a track which is nice and easy to follow through, but quite difficult to make a move. It really needs a mistake from the car ahead, as you can see them just snaking their way down the start-finish straight. And as ever, the optimal pit strategy that these drivers will be aiming for is to cut their race directly in half, take the tyres exactly half distance, get the best out of the Pirelli rubber. But might start to see some of these drivers considering whether they want to get themselves into some clean air and looking for an earlier pit window. As Balazs Fehi, definitely not thinking about the pit strategy at this stage in the race, wants to try and get by Thomas Perello right in the wheel tracks as he follows through down towards the chicane. The longest straight on the circuit, and you just have to sit in the slipstream. Not really enough to pull you alongside. As it does look like Fehi has got the better run out of the chicane. Not quite close enough to get his car alongside though before the hairpin. He's just looking to get a better run out of the corner. As down in P18 we've got a battle between Santons, Kroes and Tranmere. Tranmere trying to make his way up through the order after starting at the back of the grid. Santons ahead of Kroes, who is in that green car. We do actually have a livery for Kroes now, so will not be in that plain carbon car we saw earlier. And Tranmere looking for a way through, as is a driver with a considerable amount of pace, but the fact that he was starting from the back of the grid may suggest that he's potentially a little more accident prone. As we have our first penalty out for car number 999. That is Steve Goosens. And you see, what did Steve Goosens get that for? Oh, actually, no, we can't. I don't know. We won't be able to find out what that was for, as my replays aren't working. So Thomas Perello holding on ahead of Balazs Fehi, as anticipated. Roland Stricker has caught up to the back of Tadeusz Szynski. And we can now see the livery being run by Stricker, the slow racing. Although disappointingly has not changed his team name. That is clearly showing that he's got the pace. Lost out earlier on in this race from trying to make that move on Manuel Benz. I'm sure he will judge that it was worth an attempt, but now has to try and make up the lost positions, and is rapidly catching on to the back of Tadeusz Szynski for P2 in this race. And Roland Stricker all over the back of Szynski here. But as I said before, difficult circuit to try and find your own way through, really relying on a mistake from the car ahead. As we see the train headed up by Pirello now, it's getting closer and closer as we've got Pirello, Fahir, Busso, Fredriksson and Thomas separated by not much at all. They descend now through the crane of curves. And Fahir showing a lot of pace at the moment, is using a lot of the track and is just waiting on a mistake from Thomas Pirello. You see up ahead as Tadeusz Szynski is really being swarmed by Roland Stricker, as Szynski having to go defensive here at the hairpin. Stricker round the outside. If he can get himself alongside, will have the inside into the final corner. Not quite enough overlap to go for it at the moment, but Roland Stricker is on a charge at the moment. He's going to look to get the better exit out of that final corner as they run down towards turn one. Roland Stricker will have the optimal line. Will he try and sweep it around the outside? Roland Stricker going for the move onto Tadeusz Szynski. He's going to have to try and get ahead before the bottom of the curves. Well, gets ahead at the top of the curves. Roland Stricker up into P2 with a decisive move into turn one, and that was well fought there by Roland Stricker, as they now head through the second portion of the circuit. Roland Stricker holding on around the outside. And that is lovely racing, and he can now start to think about stretching his legs now that he's out into some clean air. As the Pirello train has slightly decoupled, as Thomas Pirello and Balazs Fahir ascend into a league of their own, leaving Busso to lead his own pack of cars behind. As Kotick has made his way past J for P21 in this race. Looking up the inside, and well, actually not sure how Chris Wright found himself all the way down in P23, the number 116 car. Can't see him on my instant tracker, so Chris Wright, for whatever reason, 10 positions down in this race. As we've got a few battles up and down this grid. Plenty of racing action out there for us tonight, as Santons under pressure from Kenny Crows, as Luke Tranmer still unable to find a way past this pair. And this is good racing from this trio. Crows looking for a way through. You see Luke Tranmer just sitting in there. Doesn't want to try and force anything, but in the same way needs to find a way past if he wants a hope of going charging on the cars ahead. But has got the pace to stick with them, but not enough pace, it seems like, to get by. As Gregor Michalak taking the opportunity for an early pit stop in this race. Will be the first of the stoppers, if I am not wrong, as Thomas Pirello continues to lead Balazs here. That gap currently sitting at 0.6 seconds. The closer gap is Busso and Fredriksson, as Fredriksson tries to make a move around the outside. We're at the outside line for the chicane, as Busso takes the racing line, uses up all of the circuit, as goes defensive to the inside. Fredriksson hoping for a mistake from Busso, as Jeremy Thomas also looking for a way through. And Busso looking like he's under real pressure at this stage in the race. Got yellow flags out for Sam McCarthy. What has happened? Oh. Okay, well, this is a 15-second back replay. So Sam McCarthy has been sat there for a while. And, well, disappointment there for the 117 driver. And, well, he's still sat there. So, things are not going the way of Sam McCarthy, it must be said. As Fredriksson finding himself now under pressure from Jeremy Thomas, who sweeps one around the outside. Beautiful move there from the orange Lamborghini. And Jeremy Thomas up into P8. And will now get his chance to have a go at Busso. As Matthew Santons still with Kenny Kroes and Luke Tranmer for company. This is the closest battle we have on field, and somehow has managed to keep clean. Oh, that was that. I knew it. I knew it as soon as the thought entered my head. I was like, if I verbalise this, something's going wrong. And Kenny Kroes has just disappeared off the circuit. What happened there? Kenny Kroes just disappearing off into the runoff, and now dropped down into P20 as he gets passed by Chris Wright. And well, that will teach me opening my mouth. And now, unimpeded by Kenny Kroes, Luke Tranmer having a go at Matthew Santons around the outside. Just getting a couple of wheels out onto the dirt. Unsettled the car there, but crucially Tranmer managing to hold on to it. As they come through the crane of curves, Luke Tranmer is up into P16. And crucial move there, was found himself held up for quite a while behind Santons. And now it is Felix Kotick. As the Pirello and Fahir fight ahead has settled down slightly, the gap just separating two drivers now. It is Busso who finds himself at the front of a 5-car train. And with no one in close proximity for him to go and bulldoze his way through, going to have his eyes in his mirrors. As Thomas and Fredriksson running him super close through this section of the circuit. So we're beginning to see a little bit of field spread appearing behind this battle. As Rainer Scholl has got major pressure now from Antrax as they come through the chicane. As Renshaw gets himself out over the exit curb. That could have compromised his run down towards the hairpin ever so slightly, but Shaw crucially staying ahead. Using all of the track, has to be careful there not to get out onto the dirt, as these long runs out of these hairpins oh so important. As Petrovsky has made his way past Nitro. There's Nitro making a slight mistake there, getting a little bit sideways, and that allows Petrovsky through up into P23 in this race. As Chris Wright having a look up the inside of Felix Kotick. And both of these drivers catching up now to Matthew Santons. Got a fair few drivers in the pit so far. I say fair few actually. Just Steve Goosens and Gregor Michalak having served their mandatory pit stops so far. Got it now. Caught well up to the back of Santons, but dropping a couple of wheels out onto the dirt will do him no good whatsoever. Especially with Chris Wright bearing down on him. Down this long back straight as they come over the hump and into the chicane. Worth pointing out that out in front, Manuel Benz has checked out really with a 8.8 seconds lead over Roland Stricker. That gap large and extending now up to 9 seconds. Further down in the order, we've got this battle continuing between Santons, Kotick and Wright, and Busso, Thomas and Fredrickson continuing to battle it out over P7. As Kenny Crows is catching up onto this battle as well after his earlier mistake, but big mistake there from Santons has allowed Felix Kotick through up into P17. And now Santons with Chris Wright for company side by side. And as long as Chris Wright can hold his car alongside, will have the inside line. Chris Wright later on the brakes, able to keep his car alongside, and this should be a big opportunity here for Chris Wright to sweep around on the inside. And now Kenny Crows looking up the inside of Santons. Will have a good run down towards the chicane, but might be slightly compromised by having Chris Wright ahead of him. Santons needs to be careful not to go too deep into the hairpin at big risk of taking out Chris Wright, and crucially I think that's what ended up doing for Santons. Could not dive super deep into the chicane with Chris Wright turning in ahead of him, and that allowed Kenny Crows up into P19. So Busso GT has dived into the pit lane ahead of this battle with Thomas and Fredrickson. So now Jeremy Thomas finds himself in clean air. Can he make use of those ailing tyres and try and get the overcut onto Busso as he sits in the pit lane? We'll have a check and see how long he is stationary in his box. I don't think we've seen any contact for Busso, so his pit stop really just going to be down to how quickly he can get himself stopped in his box. As now Jeremy Thomas has Fredrickson and Scholl behind him, with Antrax just dropping a little away. As Thomas goes deep into the corner, has to get the car rotated right out by the exit curve. That could compromise him. We come towards the final corner of the circuit, and Thomas very deep, 2 wheels out over the dirt, and loses 2 positions from that mistake. opts to bail into the pit lane. He's going to try and make up for that loss as an undercut. With 36 minutes remaining of the race, it's not necessarily vastly too early. And after having made his pit stop, Busso, running in clean air, has got a 14-second gap to the next car ahead, so should be able to extend and should be able to push into that gap. And now with Jeremy Thomas emerging from the pit lane soon. Got yellow flags out for Christopher Elberg. What has happened here? Bringing shame to the lightning bottle name as he spins it into the wall. And also having made up a whole heap of time on Jeremy Thomas through the pits. Jeremy Thomas just emerging from the pit lane now. I'm now starting to wonder whether I remembered where he was before. I thought he was just ahead of Jeremy Thomas. The time in the pits, wow, time in the pits for Busso was a 55 seconds. 1 minute 10 seconds in the pit lane for Jeremy Thomas. And am I forgetting a penalty for Thomas? Nope, I don't see it on the tracking sheet. So Jeremy Thomas with a nightmare pit stop. Not sure if he had damage from that earlier stint, but if he was running that well with 15 seconds of damage, kudos to him. As Rainer Schultz, now that he's in clean air, has seemingly dropped in pace slightly and now has Antrax right up behind him. And I think Rainer Schultz actually doing better when he had Fredriksson and Thomas to follow. As Fredriksson has emerged back out onto the track, well clear of Thomas, so something going very wrong for Thomas in his pit stop. Fredriksson spending 1 minute stopped in his box, so still 5 seconds more than Busso, and 37 second stops, and actually 44 second stop for Thomas, so yeah, must have been damage to repair. So I guess the saving grace for those two drivers is at least now they know they've got a better car underneath them for this stint in the race, as things have gone exceedingly well for Busso, as he now finds himself up behind Balazs, who has recently pitted. Having dropped back from Balazs in the first stint of this race. Busso with a real opportunity here, as we're beginning to see more and more drivers dive into the pit lane. And Rainer Schultz will emerge again some way back from Busso, who's had an almighty pit stop. And up towards the sharper end of the grid, Michael J, who has yet to pit but currently running in P9, has got Romby for company. As Rainer Schultz has got out of the pits ahead of Tord Fredriksson, so a good stop there for Rainer Schultz. Had a 2 second shorter stop than Fredriksson, and it has made all the difference. And now Tord Fredriksson going to have to try and make the move on track, as they are being ever so, I was going to say slowly, but actually quite quickly caught by our lead driver, Manuel Benz, who will be looking to try and lap this pair. And Fredrickson, looking to find a way through, will not be wanting to yield to the blue flags. That actually, yeah, blue flags will be waving. As Manuel Benz using the halfway point of the race to dive in and change those tyres. And so much is his lead that Manuel Benz been in the pits for about 5 seconds now, still holding on to that lead. There's Fredrickson all over the back of Scholl. Can't find a way through at the moment. Is just going to have to try and get a better exit. As they head down towards the chicane. Should be a slightly better exit there. Fortage was able to use more of the track as Scholl took a defensive line. But still too far back to really make anything of it. As our final drivers dive into the pit lane to make their one mandatory pit stop of this race. Just Santons and Jay remaining to make their pit stops. As this battle continues, Chris Wright wants to try and make his way past Kotick. Both of these drivers having made their mandatory pit stop for this race, so this move will have to be made on the racing circuit. And Chris Wright has got himself into the slipstream, but too far back to really challenge at the moment. Usually we do see a good amount of pace from Chris Wright, and I think if he was carrying damage earlier on in this race, as we did see him drop 10 positions at the start, he will be hopefully have that car repaired. Let's see, no, only 32 seconds stopped in the box for Chris Wright, so can't have had that much damage to repair. As Terje Fredrickson would love to find a way past Rainer Scholl, having lost out through the pit stops, has clearly got the pace, but is unable to exploit it. And that long stop in the box for Jeremy Thomas has really hurt his race, currently sitting down in P16. As our race leader, Roland Schricker, dives into the pits. We'll re-give the lead back to Manuel Benz. As Fredrickson carrying so much more speed through that bottom of the hill. Will he be able to convert that into a pass? So they head into the uphill section of the circuit. But Scholl covers off the inside line. No way through for Fredrickson. And you can see Fredrickson just trying to optimise his exit everywhere he can as Scholl goes defensive again. Fredrickson ushered to the outside. I wonder if Terje Fredrickson is going to have to not give in to that outside line that Scholl keeps showing him and just stick his car all the way onto the inside and try and take that apex. Because that outside line is just not working at all for Terje Fredrickson. As our final two holdouts dive into the pit lane, Santons and Jay. Those two were battling hard. I thought they might have tried and offset their pit strategies on one another, but no. Both dive into and out of the pit lane at the same time. And looks like they are going to maintain the order. I was just seeing yellow flags out for Florent de Moor, though he does appear to have kept it pointing in the right direction for now. As Fredrickson keeps trying that outside line, just hoping that Scholl will make a mistake. I do wonder if Fredrickson needs to just try and change up his strategy here. Because clearly... Oh, I was about to say clearly the outside not working, but that Scholl just making a slight mistake, going too deep on the brakes. On the inside... Oh, sorry, on the outside has cost Rainer Scholl the position. And Turs Fredrickson fully passed now up into P9. And will now get the opportunity to try and pull away from the Ferrari behind him. Patience paying off there for Turs Fredrickson. As Luke Tranmer has made his way up the field, now in P14 after that back of the grid start. Now finds himself on the back of Jeremy Thomas as they ascend the hill. And running a little bit too deep there, trying to carry a little bit too much speed. And Tranmer has to back off. Thomas, of course, finding himself further down the order than he probably would have expected after his pit stop. Running behind Florent de Moor and having caught him quite quickly now. This will potentially compromise his battle with Tranmer. Thomas is going to want to make that move as quickly as he possibly can. Otherwise he puts himself at some risk from Luke Tranmer behind. As Thomas getting awfully squirrely there on the exit of the final corner. I don't think it's going to be enough to give the opportunity to Luke Tranmer. But Tranmer glancing all over the place. And Thomas now alongside Florent de Moor. As Luke Tranmer also trying to find a way through as they come around the crane of curves. And Jeremy Thomas off the racing surface. See what happened here as they descend the hill. Was there contact? Oh, as Thomas tries to switch into the gap behind Florent de Moor, getting caught out there a little bit by Luke Tranmer being quite so close behind and trying to slot into a gap that really wasn't there. And gaining the position ahead of, so I'm not sure if Luke Tranmer there waiting for Thomas or if there was a separate incident for Luke Tranmer to see him back behind the Lamborghini. As Felix Kotick is caught up to the back of Paul Cook. And is right in the slipstream of the Lamborghini. And already Paul Cook going defensive to the inside. Paul Cook doing well to just drive his lines at the moment, keep himself ahead of Kotick. And looks like a much better run through the chicane there for Kotick, but again going to the outside, seeming these drivers trying to stick on the outside and get the better run. Kotick looks to the inside for the final corner and not able to find a way through as of yet. As I'm not seeing much from Matthias Peltzer in this race, but the Jason Pollock liveried car there behind Rainer Schultz. Gets himself around the inside. That was a good move there from Matthias Peltzer, and almost didn't see that one coming. As Matthias Peltzer just carrying the speed. Does Scholl just lift off to allow him past there? I'm not sure if there's potentially an issue for Rainer Scholl, as that looked almost too easy for Matthias Peltzer. I wonder if Rainer Scholl, just realizing he hasn't taken enough fuel for this race and having to fuel save in these, but if he's starting to fuel save 20 minutes from the end of the race, it's not a good sign. As Balazs Fahit still being followed closely by Busso, and now Antrax joins the party. And it's actually looking like it's Antrax who is the bigger threat to Busso at the moment. And Antrax with the better run out of the chicane. And these three not separated by much at all. It's been a battle that's been raging all throughout this race tonight, but a few drivers have slipped away from that, as we did have Scholl, Thomas and Fredriksson all involved in this battle at one point or another. And now just Fahir, Busso and Antrax remain. As I think all hope that we had for a battle for the lead of this race has all but fizzled out, with Manuel Benz currently holding a 18 seconds lead and currently the fastest lap of a let's just see, actually, what was that? A 1:26.2 on his previous but one laps. That is a phenomenal pace, and I don't think that's actually far off of the lap we saw in qualifying from Benz. So Benz setting some serious lap times here tonight. But the battle over P13 is hotting up as Luke Trammer looking to the inside of Jeremy Thomas. He's been trying to line up this move for a good number of laps now. Has got himself side by side for the final corner, and Jeremy Thomas conceding the place, and as Luke Trammer moves himself up into P13. And it's the first time actually we've seen a driver try that inside line, and it did seem to pay off there for Luke Trammer. Jeremy Thomas giving plenty of room, nice and respectful there. And as they both head out of the second to last corner, I think Jeremy Thomas just realising he didn't have enough of an overlap to lay claim to that inside line, and that's what allowed Luke Trammer up into P13 in this race. And they have both now caught up onto the back of Florent de Moor. So this battle can continue, but with a different antagonist for de Moor this time around. Luke Trammer this time gets the opportunity to try and make a pass on de Moor. And there's the struggling Rainer Shaw ahead as well. So we go on board with Rainer Shaw if we can hit. Aren't quite here. Is he lifting and coasting in that car? Yeah, I think that is a car that is running low on fuel as Rainer Shaw pulls to the side of the road to let a number of cars past. Yeah, I can't see anything in terms of that. Oh, as Rainer Shaw dives into the pit lane. So if that's a fuel problem, that will be to retire the car for Rainer Shaw, as there is no refueling in this Go Setups VIP trophy. But we'll see if Rainer Shaw does emerge from the pits. Maybe damage from an unseen incident. But don't see car number 59 on my tracker as Florent de Moor is rally crossing his way over the grass. I didn't catch what happened there actually. Oh, the car just snaps on him mid-corner, and we see Florent de Moor well off into the gravel. And some way back, I think it was like Antrax has made his way past Busso and is now offering the assault against Balazs Fahir. Antrax really showing some good race pace in this session. Is up, well, one position on his starting grid slot. Actually started in P8 and lost a number of positions I think early on in this race, but now charging his way back through. And I believe having stopped some 5 minutes later than Balazs Fahir will be on fresher tyres, and with these track temperatures sitting around 29 degrees, tyre longevity could play a factor into this battle, as Antrax looking like he's got so much more grip at the moment. Really applying pressure to Fahir now. I don't think he'll try and make a lunge into the chicane, but we'll just try and carry the speed through, hope to get that better exit, make the use of his grip. As you can see, so much more speed, throws himself to the inside, and if he can keep this alongside into the braking zone, has got the move made on Balazs Fahir, and using that superior rubber on the exit, it will try and fight this one into the final corner, but I think Antrax will just be able to carry the speed around the outside. But Fahir, fair play to him, keeping himself in the battle, as Antrax will have the inside for the first corner, but no, just not able to keep alongside. And a good battle in there from Fahir, using the power of that Audi to just out-drag the Ferrari down the straight. More grunt from low down from that Audi, and managed to save him from that exit. And Antrax is going to have to try something else if he wants to make his way past Balazs in that Audi R8. And again, you can see how much more grip Antrax has in this section of the track. Just able to put the power down so much earlier through these corners. And Not really a section of track where you want to be trying to go side by side. Antrax again, just sitting in the wheel tracks of the Audi. Will again look to the inside, but staying on the outside. Antrax is going to try and use this time the grip of his Ferrari. See if he can get the drive out the corner. Staying behind for now. And it's going to have to be a long stint of defence from Fahey if he wants to hold on to this P6. As those tyres seem to be falling away from him. And this is bringing Busso back into this battle as well, as they've got the back marker of Nitro. Up ahead will be hopefully trying not to play a role in this battle. As I'm sure Busso will be screaming within that cockpit, hoping for Nitro to get out of the way as they ascend the hill. Antrax there, well, Nitro diving right out of the way, wanting no part of this battle whatsoever. And this has really given the opportunity to Busso here. He wants to try and retake this place on Antrax. They'll be side by side as they come into the chicane. I don't think Busso will want to put his car alongside, but will try and get the better run out of the exit. It doesn't look like any of them really holding an advantage over the car ahead of them. So they head towards the hairpin line astern. And you can see Turd Fredrickson also approaching onto this battle. As they keep battling as hard as they have been, they might bring Fredrickson back into this one. He's again descending through the crane of curves. You can see just how much more confidence Antrax has in his car at the moment. Those younger tyres offering superior grip. Again, coming up through the crest of the hill. Antrax able to carry more speed through there yet again. Will he be able to use this opportunity to get alongside Balazs for the chicane? Or at least put Balazs off through the chicane. Stays in behind for now. Will try and get the better run out of the corner. And again, looking like a good opportunity for Antrax. He looks to the inside. Not going to be brave on the brakes here. Slots back in behind the Audi. And he's running out of time at this stage of the race. With just under 8 minutes remaining, there's a ever-reducing number of laps left to try and make this move. And a stout defence being offered by Fahey, knowing when to just take his line, when to go defensive. And as we also have a battle over P15 in this race, as Paul Cook has got Chris Wright for company. Chris Wright having to battle his way through after losing a number of positions early on in this race. We'll try and line up the better exit to get the run down into turn one. But as of yet, Chris Wright not got enough in hand to try and get by at the moment. Will there be anything different up ahead as Antrax continues to chase down Balazs Fahey, this time with a much better run through the chicane than the Audi? Will try and hold the inside lines. They go side by side through the hairpin. Antrax again with the good exit, but Balazs Fahey here crucially with the inside line and able to keep himself ahead. Oh, and Antrax going for the switchback, going for the better exit from the final corner. Will this be enough to get him alongside the Audi into turn one? Doesn't look like it. And Balazs Fahir, knowing where to place his car to keep himself ahead of the Ferrari. And yet another lap goes by with Antrax being kept behind Fahir. And becoming less and less opportunities to make his way by, as Sam McCarthy has gotten past Petrovsky for P20 as he lines this up around the outside. In the end, a nice straightforward pass forces the Ferrari out onto the outside of the circuit, and Sam McCarthy through up into P20. We come down towards the chicane again. Will it be a repeat of the scenarios we've seen time and time again? This time, Antrax not getting that significant overspeed on the Audi as we've seen before. Is there anything new for him to try? Has he got anything left in his box of tricks? And it seems that the Ferrari just not much power down low, and with that naturally aspirated V8 engine, sorry, not V8 engine, V10 engine in the Audi, that superior low down power means that Balazs Fahir can just get that much better exit of these low speed corners, while the Ferrari waits for its turbo to spool up. As yet again, the picture repeats itself. Antrax able to get close to Fahir. Will he want to try and put himself alongside into the chicane potentially to try and just compromise Fahir's run through the corner, as there's a slight tap on the rear, but both cars pointing in the right direction. And this time Antrax not nearly close enough to try and make a move into the first of the hairpins. And all the while this has allowed Busso to catch up again, so Antrax now needs to be careful to not compromise himself too much in the attempt of getting past Fahir, or he might see himself getting swallowed up by the Mercedes behind him. As the battle for P6 continues, with just under 3 minutes remaining in this race. And clearly Antrax having what would look like the superior pace if he was unleashed ahead of Balazs. But while the Audi stays in front of him, and there it was the mistake from Balazs Fahir, just a slight twitch on the exit has allowed Antrax to come through and up into P6. It was a bold move. I did not go back far enough on this, or I went back too far. Apologies. Well, we tried. We tried, that's what counts. As Balazs still having the pace actually to keep up with the Ferrari ahead of him, will be ruining that mistake made at the top of the hill. And is pushing with everything he's got to try and make his way back through. He's actually managed to get himself alongside There's a few battles now appearing amongst the order. As we have this three-way battle over P6. We also have Luke Trammer now on the back of Matthias Peltzer. This for P10 in the race. The ever so prestigious top 10. As Peltzer defending to the inside. Leaves the racing line clear for Trammer. This will compromise his run through the chicane. As they approach the back marker of Nitro. Nitro trying to get out of the way. And ends up bailing out, allowing both Peltzer and Trammer to come through. Continue their battle. And now with all this battling, Antrax now leading the train for P6, which now consists of Balazs Fahir, Busso, and now Terj Fredriksson has caught up to this one. Though Balazs Fahir getting caught out there by the back marker of Steve Goosens. As they ascend through the hill, not much Goosens can do to get out of the way there. And, well, apologies, we have missed the crossing of the line, but Manuel Benz does take the win here at Donington Park. Congratulations to Benz. He'll be followed not so closely by Roland Schricker. Take P2 in this race. And then taking the final podium position will be Tadeusz Szynski. Cam Carter crosses the line in P4 with Thomas Pirello followed in the end quite closely behind by Antrax, who did well to catch up to Pirello there in the dying moments of the race. Then followed by Balazs Fahir, who just got caught out there by the back marker of Goosens. Then followed by Busso GT and Terj Fredriksson, who was caught up to the back of that battle. Rounding out the top 10 will be Matthias Peltzer, who managed to hold off ahead of Luke Tranmer for P10. P12 will be Jeremy Thomas, followed very closely by Felix Kotick. Florent de Moore finishes in P14, with Paul Cook still being chased by Chris Wright. And those complete our finishes for the lead lap of this race. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. As that was an exciting race. Remind you of our top three again. Those were Manuel Benz, Tadeusz Szynski, Manuel Benz, Roland Schricker, and Tadeusz Szynski. And we can take a look actually and see what that has done for our, well, actually we need to wait for our championship standings to load. As those will be calculated over at pitskill.io. Place to go for all of your Assetto Corsa Competizione needs. And if you are looking to join up at pitskill.io, do use the referral link in the description below this video. And starting tomorrow, Pitskill will be heading to, I want to say Kyalami, but I am waiting for this to load. No, it will be heading to Watkins Glen. So I wanted to say Kyalami, but Kyalami was wrong. So yeah, if you fancy driving around Watkins Glen, do get yourself signed up. And then on Monday, we will be bringing you live the Porsche Cup race at Watkins Glen. And then again on Wednesday, same time, same place, will be round 9 of the Go Setups VIP trophy. So please do return for that. As Watkins Glen, a highlight for many of our drivers, I think. And well, while we wait for our championship standings to update, I will leave you with the highlights from tonight's race. And we'll pop the standings up as soon as those are available. So until next time, do stay safe, stay on track, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you very much.